3, 2, 1, action.
Hi, my name is Barry Keane. I'm the Vice Chairman of a research group called Dealey, Plaza, UK. We've been in existence since 1996 and we actively study and research the assassination of President Kennedy. Many of our groups have been to the United States, been to Dallas, attended conferences and written papers and written articles. Some of us have even written books about the assassination generally. Now, we generally accept the fact that President Kennedy was assassinated as a result of a conspiracy, but we're still working on who actually was responsible. And I think it's very important that, for the sake of history, that we actually find out who was responsible for the assassination of President Kennedy. We in this country, we have a seminar which we hold every year since 2003 in Canterbury in Kent, usually around about the end of April. Now we have this seminar is normally attended by about 30 or 40 people, mostly from the UK, but everybody's welcome to attend. And what we do, we have speakers within our group and without, and we also have people from the United States who obviously attend it from occasionally, and they talk about various aspects of the assassination. But for me personally, I'm very interested in the assassination of President Kennedy and trying to find out the truth, but I'm really interested in President Kennedy as a man, as a human being, and as a president. Now, it's often said that for many people, who would you choose as perhaps the greatest president ever? Now, whether President Kennedy would fall into that category, I don't know, but President Kennedy was elected President of the United States and by extension also the leader of the free world during a very crucial period in our history. Now, this was the height of the Cold War. Now, during his presidency, which lasted from 1961 to 1963, we came very close to a nuclear war with the Soviet Union, perhaps closer than we've ever been before or since. And it's because of President Kennedy's courage, President Kennedy's humanity, that he resisted the forces that were pressurizing him into launching a military attack on Cuba and the Soviet Union, which would have precipitated a nuclear war. And the use of nuclear weapons at that period in history would have been absolutely devastating to everybody. I mean, the fact that that didn't occur is largely responsible because President Kennedy is largely responsible because of his courage. He resisted the pressure that his military advisors were giving him, and he resisted and said, we have to have a peaceful solution. Unfortunately, we did. If another man had been president, maybe a different thing would have happened. But President Kennedy, fortunately, was in power during that crucial period in our history. Unfortunately, less than a year later, he was assassinated. And Dealey Plaza UK is still trying to find out who was responsible for his assassination. But the important thing is, today, on May the 29th, 2017, is the 100th anniversary of President Kennedy's birth. And I think it's very important that we celebrate his birth and his life in general, and still try to find out the truth about his assassination. But his life is more important. And I would urge the youth of today to study his life, study his presidency, read his speeches, read everything you can about that man, because everything that he said back in the early 1960s is still relevant today. And I think it's very important that you do, and I hope you do, because to understand history you must look back on what happened before, to not try and make the same mistakes that happened in our previous lives, previous history. And President Kennedy was a great historian, a great lover of history, and he knew how important things like that were. And I urge all students, all young people today, study President Kennedy's life, because it will give you a great insight to what is happening today. And if you compare it with the leaders that we have today, you will then come to perhaps the inevitable conclusion that President Kennedy was a great man, and it's a real tragedy that he died so young. So I personally am so impressed by what Kennedy did for us in the early 1960s, and I think we should never forget this man. And today, the 100th anniversary of the birth, is a perfect day to put this message forward, and I hope that you do study this man, because I think you'll find him a very interesting man, and I think you'll find that he will help you understand the situation that we're in today, and maybe you can learn from his words, learn from his speeches, and maybe we can make the world a better place.